Welcome. What a gift it is to be able to see all of you and to be with you today. We have on our program this welcome and then our century prayer and then a moment of silence. I want to ask us to move that moment to the beginning, that we might center ourselves with a moment of silence, not just to remember your own space and mind and body, spirit and soul, but that we might remember those whose lives are no longer on this planet. The lives of siblings in California, siblings in Sudan, siblings whose families grieve now in Washington, Philadelphia, in the Congo, and in every place where there is conflict. May we rest in a moment of silence, remember ourselves, our connection to spirit, and to remember them. Let's take one moment in silence. This is an honor to be able to be back amongst my family. You are Mama My Global family. And one of the things that was so important for us as we gathered around to talk about this year's World Interfaith Harmony Week was to say, what is it that we need to center ourselves and focus on the kind of future that we need for all of us? And one of the things we discussed was that we need to be refilled. We need to be refueled. We needed to be refreshed, to have someone pour into us as we have been pouring out to so many others. So someone to strengthen and fortify our faith, someone who can help us to renew our hope and to remember that our journey together is about harmony and being in line with the spirit of the Creator the one who has called us to serve, the one who calls us to serve together. And so this is how we have invited Dr. Bauer to come to offer a sacred reflection for all of us as we gather to pray. This is why we are not streaming. We have not decided to make this a huge production, but for us called to do this sacred work, for us to come together, to be with one another, to pray, to refuel, to be centered, and to be filled once again. So, one faith, one hope, and together the harmony that makes us one global family towards a future that is united. For the text that I would like to share with us as a centering kind of prayer, I am finding that grief has been a constant companion for me throughout these seasons of what I have called seasons of affliction. My own accident, the loss of my speech and the fluidity of it, not my voice, but the speech. I am regaining the strength in my limbs to walk on my own, but then to lose my mama. For the one person who has been a rock for me, and one that I have been caring for the last 2 years, intimately, consistently, his death has been very difficult. 3 days after we buried my father, on 17th of December, my mother fell down the stairs and had to have emergency surgery, and since the 20th of December, I've been in and out of hospitals until today. So, grief is a constant companion, not a welcomed friend, but a teacher nonetheless. And I share this story because so many of us are serving and walking with and journeying with so many that are grieving, various ways. So I offer this centering prayer, and then this is your home, so you are already welcome. But then as we go towards sharing our music, call to harmony and the call to a future of hope and a united hope, this is something for me that has been helping for my healing. It is a psalm, and it's a portion of the 46th division of Psalms. And it says, God is our refuge and strength, very present help in time of trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth be removed, though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea. The waters roar and be troubled, and though the mountains might shake with the swellings, there is a river whose streams shall make glad the city of God, the holy place, the tabernacle of the Most High. God is in the midst of her, and she shall not be moved. God is in the midst of us. May we not And this psalm ends with saying these words: be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations, and I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us, and the God of all creation is our refuge. May it be so that we remember God is in the midst of us. And though all things might come to shake us and to create discord, but harmony is in our midst. And the hope is still our foundation, and our faith will always keep us bound. And so we can be still and know that God is with us now and always. My brother, G, will come to join me now and to officially open our time as only Guruji can. Then, of course, we will hear music from heaven, from our own Michelle in the cloud. And then I know our programs say that our beloved Reverend Zoyan will come, but then we need to switch. Reverend Mama Margaret Rose will come, dear sister, after Michelle sings, to offer us reflection on peace.
त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनं पूर्वायुर्व्यञ्जना मृत्योर्मुक्षेमामृतात् ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनं पूर्वायुर्व्यञ्जना मृत्योर्मुक्षेमामृतात् ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनं पूर्वायुर्व्यञ्जना मृत्योर्मुक्षेमामृतात् ॐ सर्वेषां सुखिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा गच्छन्तु कपात् भवेत् असतो मा सत्कमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति 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 Namaste everyone. It's my great pleasure and honor to join celebrating our annual Interfaith Harmony Week celebration. I know some of you were from the beginning of the Interfaith movement at the UN, and for me, it's a bread and butter. Born in the Interfaith family, coming to America, learning about all the different religions, going to different seminaries and learn and teach and propagate. I'm blessed to be here with you all, and I have to thank our chaplain Dio and helping us to bring all the religious groups and NGOs coming here. This is our house. I know we always put first priority for us. And today we have Dr. Babaji, my long time friend, and we did so many events together with Swami Bua, Chinmoy, and Rabbi Joseph Government. This is from Swami Bua. This shawl is from Rabbi Government. Three things I carry wherever I go: this shirt, this shawl, and the mala. Mala also I made for Swami Bua. That was September 11, 2001. The collapse happened in the World Trade Center. I was making the mala, then I opened the TV. I am seeing this issue. So Swami Bua wore that for 10 years. Before he left, he gave back to me. So I wear that. So celebrate and propagate and live in interfaith movement. That's the only thing I want to say now. So we'll invite our angel boys. We shall Gallapere. Sorry.
There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sick soul. Sometimes I feel discouraged and think my work is in vain. But then the Holy Spirit revives my soul again. There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sick soul. Don't ever feel discouraged. Our Father is kind. And if you lack for knowledge, He'll not refuse to lend. There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. Oh, there is a balm in Gilead to heal the sick soul. Well, you may not preach like Peter, and you may not pray like Paul, but you can tell the story of what died for.
both. Thank you both for letting us know not only that grief is our teacher, and there is healing. Healing in the words of Reverend Dion, healing in the words of Psalm 46, healing in the balms of Gilead that we find in creation and among one another. Healing as we are called to prayer by a wonderful and by words. And yet today we also speak of harmony. That harmony which is the hope of the world. That harmony which is a word, an experience, a yearning, an aspiration. An aspiration for unity that doesn't require uniformity or conformity, but rejoices in the diversity of groups, the diversity of peoples, the diversity of religions, in which together can make for a flourishing of creation, of humanity, and indeed, beautiful music. Our gathering today is a witness and a prayer to this hope for harmony. It is also an expression of the promise that it indeed is possible. Be not afraid, says the prophet Isaiah in chapter 41 of the Christian and Hebrew scripture. Pretty hard to do when there is every reason to be terrified. But the assurance of our community together in the presence of the Holy One is ever there. For I am with you, be not afraid. It gives courage in these days. There's another prophet, poet, I want to share with you today, and it's in the words of Maya Angelou. And hers too are words that give us hope. This is a poem called Continue, you may have heard. Continue to be who and how you are, to astonish a mean world with acts of kindness. Continue to allow humor to lighten the burden of a tender and hurting heart. Continue in a society dark with cruelty to let the people hear the grandeur of God in the peals of our laughter. Continue to let your and our eloquence elevate the people to heights they had only imagined, and to remind us that each is as good as the other. No one is beneath, no one above. Continue to remember your own young years and look with favor upon the lost, the least, the lonely, and those parts of ourselves that are that too. Continue to put the mantle of protection around the bodies of the young and also the defenseless. To take the hand of the despised, the diseased, and walk proudly, proudly in the high street. Some might see you and be encouraged, and you likewise. Continue to plant a public kiss of concern on the cheek of the sick, the aged, those who might be infirm. count that as natural action and to be. And finally, continue to let gratitude be the pillow upon which you kneel, to say, I'm not afraid. Let faith be the bridge that you build, and we build together to overcome evil and welcome the good. May it be so.
May it indeed be so. Thank you. There is a deep well, and sometimes if you hear the ripples of that well, when the water comes, right? Sometimes that well is just still, yet it is always deep. And you can see the reflection of God in it. And this is what I think of when I think of my brother Carl, because he is quiet giant, but a deep, deep well of wisdom and solace. So we will hear from sacred words of the Baha'i through our brother Carl Morel. And then Guruji, we will come back to introduce our speaker.
I was thinking that a lot of Americans use this space right now. Look at they crying. And my New York homie is throwing people off. In 1893, Chicago had something which really stimulated people beyond what they understood at the time, and that was the World's Fair, Chicago World's Fair, and they had religions that they had not knew existed. And so people were taken by that. And they really wanted to know about these people, what they believed, and they found that what they were hearing from these people was something that they could relate to. And actually, that was the first place that the Baha'i faith was publicly mentioned in the United States. This fledgling faith is trying to grow, and he asked the founder, Prophet Muhammad Baha'u'llah, if his son could visit. So he initially went to Europe, and then came to the US in 1912. And I still don't know how this happened, but he in 239 years, he went from coast to coast. He was one of our supersonic jets that I think and one of the places he wanted to go to was Chicago, because this was the first place that I think that they mentioned. And to meet the filmers there. And you can imagine in 1912, a religious quote unquote leader sharing with people a unified message, and there were so many things that our country was struggling with, like participation of people of color, etc. And when he was in Chicago, where he did everywhere, he shared a prayer. I mean, this prayer from 1912 still resonates today. O thou kind Lord, this gathering is turning to thee. These hearts are radiant with thy love. These minds and spirits are exhilarated by the message of thy glad tidings. O God, let this American democracy become glorious in spiritual degrees, even as it has aspired to material degrees, and when it is just done its confirm this revered nation to upraise the standard of the oneness of humanity, to promulgate the most great peace, to become thereby most glorious and praiseworthy among all the nations of the world. O God, this American nation is worthy of thy favors. He is deserving of thy mercy. Make it precious and near to thee, through thy bounty and restore. Make it so.
Very prophetic word.
Now I'd like to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Babaji, the secretary and founder of the World Council of Religious Leaders and the Secretary General of the Millennium Peace Summit at the UN in 1999-2000. That was the biggest religious spiritual event happened at the UN. I met him that event, but we are not that close. It took a little while to become close friends. That is because of Ramagua and Rabbi Joseph Bell. He had his office at Emerson Building on 54th floor. We used to go there and have a nice talk. Then we go for dinner for Indian food in Little India. So many events we did, and I remember one event at the Fashion Institute of Technology for Swami Bua's 100-year teaching celebration. That's amazing. Swami Bua passed away when he was 123 years. And these are the people who made a lot of spiritual history at the UN. I have to mention, when I was traveling to Middle East, he told me that's a beautiful place, Behai headquarters in Israel. You have to visit. So I went there, spend time with them. I already spent time in India and the place, but this was beautiful. I took photos and showed to him. So himself is a spiritual person from Jain tradition, coming here and interacting with the different religious leaders and political leaders, diplomats, and bringing everyone together. Showcase universality as a unity and diversity through his own life and guiding us. People like me as a younger person coming here, so always will ask him, what are the history? We want to make that history part of our spiritual movement. That he always supported us. He moved to Florida, so I asked him to come back here every year, at least 2-3 times in a year, so we can mobilize UN as a spiritual place rather than a political place. So let us see the moment how it will happen. We have to hard work. So without delay, I want to invite Dr. Baba Jai.
We're going to start with a prayer from our tradition. I think I recited that 35 years ago in the chapel. So, I want to retrace those steps. Siddhanam, Namo Aidiyanam, Namo Vajjayanam, Namo Loe Sarvasahunam, Yeso Panchanamo Karo, Sarvapavapanasano, Manglanancha Sarvesing, Paranam Bhavai Mangalam, Sakavatam Sakavatam, Santi Santi Karavai, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti. Get back into my shoes. Oh, my brother. No, I think my voice can carry. Where do I begin? I think my first reflection today is I see very dark clouds hanging over us. People, even in our country, the most mightiest nation in the world today, are in distress. We are divided more than ever. What is it that binds us is our faith, is our religion. This is a unique moment for the religious and spiritual leaders to rise up like the phoenix. They are the ones who can give hope and bring the people back into that spirit of what the founding fathers of America envisioned this country, great country to be. Dark clouds hanging over the United Nations in a special way. This is the one global institution that we have. We may have challenges, we may have problems, but it was founded that if you have challenges, if you have problems, come and resolve them, find a way, negotiate, talk, come to some consensus. Do not condemn. It's easy to do that, very difficult to do it. So I am deeply saddened with the turn of events. Because when I walked in here 35 years ago, I was a little younger. My hair was still black, my beard was still black. And there was a little kick in our step, nostalgic of coming into the hallowed hall, the house of Micah United Nations. This is something which we grew up. I grew up in a British boarding school, run by the Church of England, giving a lot of good foundation for the United Nations. We felt nostalgic about it. The other day when I walked in, I felt deeply sad. I said, come on, this is a unique time, something has to be done. I remember my teacher, this is not my field, this is not what I do. I come from a business background, family, but my greatest blessing in life is to have had my guru, my spiritual father. He was in this place here. So today when I stand here, I invoke him because he's the one who does everything. He speaks, it's not me. But he changed my life. I came on a visit for 2 weeks to America. I came first in 1980, but then I went back doing my business. But 10 years later, the inauguration of the first Jain Pilgrimage Center outside of India. I came for 2 weeks, but 2 weeks never finished. After that, we delayed, and then they said, no need to go back, start working with the United Nations. It changed my life. The kind of experiences I've had, meet people like that. I'm so delighted my brother Carl is here. Richard, who's been like an icon at the UN from ever, always. These are like permanent fixtures of the United Nations. Okay. And then the lead team. Okay. Swami Bua, that is 123. But even at that age, you should have seen his energy and his spirit. And one moment, especially when you mentioned him, the lead team, I remember the opening of the General Assembly, or the Millennium Summit in the General Assembly Hall of the UN. And I had wanted to honor Swami to us, so we had asked him to come and blow the conch shell. And he starts. You know, he was about 4 feet 11 inches. Those of you who've seen him. So we had an interview, and he starts. And I'm sitting on the podium with one of the greatest secretary generals, I would say, Kofi Annan. And the third person in the seat, don't if you, those who remember, was Ted Turner, the guy who wanted to CNN. One might wonder why he was there. I'll come to that in a minute. So he starts blowing the conch shell, and he wouldn't stop. And I was getting nervous. Kofi Annan tell me, wow, I do something, this guy's going to fall. I said, no, don't worry, Excellency. He's used to it. Kofi was blown away that this man had such capacity that he could just, all of the United Nations are echoing the sounds, the sacred sounds of the conch shell. That blessed us. That blessed us. So unique things have happened. But in terms of just going back, especially because of the word interfaith harmony, retracing some of the steps and honoring some of the giants who have made things possible for where we are today in the world of interfaith and interreligious engagement. By the way, I want to something. Dialogue has reached its end. This is time for action. We need interfaith and religious action, not just dialogue. There was an important part for dialogue. That part has been accomplished. The faiths know each other well. The technology has made things very possible. But what the world needs today is action. The religious leaders who lead, who address the challenges that most confront us. So I want to shift that. I just don't want a celebration or a remembrance or just a dialogue. And that was one of the spirits of the Millennium Summit. Kofi had two challenges for us. And actually, should I start from there? Should I go back a little further? Okay, now as mentioned, I'll start. 1998. If you remember, at that time, the United States owed the UN $1.25 billion. We were in arrears, intentionally. And Kofi was very stressed. We have become close ever since the 50th anniversary of the UN and earlier than that. And the person who I hold singularly responsible for engagement of religious leaders at the highest level, first was Rabbi Akesh Naik. One of the great icons, a Holocaust survivor, who today at 93 continues like amazing. I was with him for an hour and a half yesterday. Man is so sharp, one of the most astute geopolitical analysts. And so when I came in here, it was Her Excellency Gillian Swanson, and the Secretary General. I went to see her at the Secretary General's office. Wow, you need to go and see Rabbi Schneier. I went, and since then he's been like a father to me. I've been blessed. Another giant who I knew before I came to America, Reverend James Fox Moore, the Dean of the Cathedral of St. John the Divine. Again, these are people who were larger than life, and the things that they did were just revolutionary. Sometimes they talked it a little bit much, but sometimes that was needed. And he was like my mentor, because he was my guru's spiritual brother. That's how the doors were opening. And he made me a regent of the cathedral, and I was sharing with a friend, that one of my early visits to New York, I went to the Cathedral of St. John the Divine. So, wow, you are new here. Now from here, walk to the United Nations. It was a hot summer day. But it was such a lesson. I really got to feel the culture and spirit of New York. That was Jim Morton. What he did at the cathedral till date. The United Nations each year had major events happening at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine. It was him who brought that together. The Episcopal Church totally behind on that. Sometimes there were challenges because he did some things which were not conventional. Okay. He was an emotional man. Sometimes he can get carried away. But the intentions were good. tracing back history, as Carl mentioned, 1893 is the recognized Parliament of the World's Religions. The first one, the original one. People had even at that time started getting together. So the jumpstart at the UN. So these people had been engaging with the UN, but there was always a big disconnect. Because this is a political body, separation of church and state. How do you try and harmonize this? Because the truth is, you cannot separate faith from politics. Those are also individuals, these are also individuals. They follow some faith in their own life, some religious practice. So I think the danger is in creating those separations rather than finding ways to bring together. And that was what Kofi Annan wanted at the Millennium Summit, because in '98, when the dialogue was taking place with Ted Turner, Ted Turner just came up, and that time CNN was doing very well. And those who met Ted Turner, that man was just an amazing visionary, very unconventional. He could really work you up and challenge you. I'm being kind, using the use of my words. I remember that meeting in 1998, from I think August, and the person who had arranged the meeting was very strong. He was one of my mentors, who was the Secretary of the World Summit, who had been a stalwart of the UN, who actually rose from being a security guard at the UN to become an Secretary General, worked with almost every Secretary General. The man knew the UN inside out like nobody else did. So he knew the power of engagement. So at this meeting with Ted Turner and Kofi Annan, Ted Turner, first of all, said, Kofi, I feel very embarrassed by my government. I am going to pay the $1 billion to the United Nations. Kofi was very smiling, but Kofi is an astute diplomat. He knows the protocol very well. Kofi says, by protocol, I am not allowed to accept money from an individual to pay off the dues of the nation. But what we can do is, he's donating to the UN, we put it to good use. But Ted was very smart. How many comes a businessman? He says, Kofi, I'm not going to give the money to the UN. I'm going to create a UN foundation. You apply to it, and we will determine what to fund. He said, but in the next 10 years, I'm going to have other people who are billionaires contribute to that fund. Remember, the whole history of big giving, first one was Ted Turner. After that, you heard of bigger ones. But Ted Turner gave the first $1 billion at the UN. Then he goes on. He says, Kofi, what's the problem in the world? You see, it's these religious guys who are creating conflict in the world. He spoke like a cowboy. He didn't have any finesse to his language. I have meeting him, so I can tell you closer. And he said, Kofi, you need to bring these people to the UN and make them sign a commitment to peace. Unfortunately, at the Earth Summit, we had a wisdom keepers. We brought religious leaders. So Maurice Strong knew us well. So Maurice, but for me, it's the creation of God. It's divinely ordained. It's not humanly possible. It was for me, my guru. So when Ted Turner said that to Kofi just looked at him. Kofi was very soft spoken. Sometimes you would strain to hear it. But that moment, he said, that's a good idea, Ted. Maurice took the opportunity. He said, I know who can do it. And lo and behold, here I am. There I was, put into that trust. I never expected that. Okay, I was very committed, wedded to the United Nations. I was practically living in the UN every day. Those days I would walk into the UN without any security pass also, because all the security and everybody we knew, we used to sit together. And that's when the call came. And Kofi said, we need two things. We're not talking about interreligious dialogue. I need you to bring the religious leaders of the world together. We Interfaith allies to the UN to fulfill the social commitments, the challenges that the UN has to deal with and negotiate. So yes, we need a commitment to peace, that's what exactly. But we need to have them as people who will work on the ground to implement the decisions that the nation states make at the United Nations. That is the spirit. Because dialogue has a limitation. And this way, when it comes to the issue of God or divine, don't ever try and dialogue. Respect what the person believe is. So what we are lacking in the world many times is respect. So God was very clear. We're not going to discuss God. We're going to discuss your God is better or my God is better. Let's leave it at that. But let's bring these people to work together on social challenges. And look, what a wise man, what it does. When you bring people together, what happens? Trust forms. They get to know each other. They begin to see, maybe we can do some things together. At that time, we gave Kofi Annan a list of, after the Millennium Summit, about 600 names of people in in Africa to combat AIDS. AIDS was a big challenge for the UN at that time. One of the success stories which you never hear of. Because we made clear that religious leaders are not seeking recognition. They want to help on the ground. That's what they are ordained for. And they started to do that. Became very successful. Then there were other issues, other challenges. And from that, suddenly there was a spurt in bringing religious leaders to the movement. Whether the Tony Blair's Faith Foundation, the King of Saudi Arabia's conference on dialogue and bringing faiths together. By the way, people don't talk about this much. The King of Saudi Arabia, you know what's his first title? He's King second. First and foremost, to the almost 2 billion Muslims, he's a custodian of the two holy mosques. That is the most important, and only he can have that title. And there was all that tension between the Muslims and the church, Muslim and the Jewish, and all over. So what did this man do, King Abdullah, at that time? He broke protocol with his religious people. He went to the Vatican. He went to see the Holy Father. Everybody was shocked. I mean, the custodian going to the Holy Father, that was like unimaginable. But he was visionary. He said, we have to find a way to break that impasse and bring people together. So we started counseling dialogue and look at the relations that evolved after that. Look at all that we have. They have brought it to the General Assembly of the UN during President Bush and had the meeting here. So religious leaders and religion became center in many ways. But yet there were people at the UN always finding ways to keep religious and religion out, keeping civil society out. Because sometimes civil society can be a pain in the backside. Which is what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to dialogue and challenge and break those norms. Find a way to engage. Find a way which can work with the diplomatic world, So otherwise it will be frustrating. So I always have learned with Kofi and especially was you have to learn the institution and find ways to work with it, engage with it creatively, constructively, not be frustrated. You think otherwise you spend your life just in that way. So that's what we started to do. We came up with the term religious diplomacy. At that time, for the Millennium Summit. That was Kofi's gift. He says, I remember one discussion we were having. I said, Excellency, I have to argue with you. This is the house of diplomacy. But the greatest diplomats in the world are religious leaders. He said, tell me, why? How? I said, they are resolving things every day of their life. At all levels. This is in their DNA. You engage them because this is the largest resource you can harness to do good in the world. And they are fundamentally committed to doing good in the world. Bring them here. There will be challenges. And Kofi did some of one of our great challenges at that time, when you had heard was since I was young, because of my guru, I knew the Dalai Lama. And when the summit was declared, it was in the media, and I had a call, an invitation from the permanent representative of China to the United Nations. Mr. Jain, I want you to come, I want to invite you for lunch. And when they invite you, you know there's going to be something. He says, when I go to him for lunch, Excellency, fortunately with coffee and my experience there, I learned protocol quite well. And I knew the UN, I think, quite well by then. So when I went there, I knew there was something. He says, I want to assure you of the support of the People's Republic of China for the Millennium Summit, religious and spiritual leaders. I said, thank you, Excellency. This is wonderful because China is constantly criticized when it comes to the term of religion. I want to assure the complete support. He said, but you have to follow the protocols of the United Nations. You cannot invite the Dalai Lama. So I like to push things a little bit. So I said, Excellency, I want to just test it out. I knew the protocol. I want to test it out. Remember, this is where the thing you can be creatively nudging. So I said, Excellency, see the scripture, man. Look at all this what you're doing. It's just good work. You're being religious leaders of the world, and he's one of the most well-known people. He says, we have an understanding, Mr. J. Then he became a little formal and stern. I said, Excellency, I will always observe and follow the protocol of the United Nations. He says, I assure you of full cooperation and meeting. I informed the Secretary General. He was aware very well, but we worked very closely on this issue. Thereafter, I was in a struggle myself. How do we resolve this? Because I know the Dalai Lama since I was young. Look at all his messages. I'm not getting into the political. We are talking about religious leaders coming together to support the United Nations in addressing the challenges that it faces. So I sat with the Dalai Lama. I met him privately in Israel. We were at an interfaith meeting in Jordan, and from there was a meeting in Israel. The Dalai Lama was there. Because I knew him, I said, I want to talk. And this I don't share much, but today this is a family. This is my family of religious engagement at the United Nations, so I can share with you now. So I said, I'm in a dilemma. I need guidance. And he said, what? So I said, here is this opportunity now for the first time. Religious leaders are invited to the United Nations, directly by the Secretary General. And I have been tasked to serve. And I said, but you've been like my guru's brother, so like a father figure. But China has made clear that there can be no summit if the Dalai Lama is invited. And he's always sitting with his head down. And he caught me, no reaction, UN, summit, good idea. I'm waiting. My attendance is not important. Sure. I said, the more important is summit taking place. That was his message. I said, because I was ready at that time, I confessed to tell Coffin and I'm resigning. I felt a dilemma. But then I learned also the art of compromise. What do you compromise for? What are the goals? What do we want to accomplish? And here was a unique opportunity to be really seen at the highest level. With the Secretary General in the General Assembly, 1 week before the Millennium Heads of State Summit at the UN. And Teta was very clear we have to make a big impact. So we worked very hard, but I think it was the grace of God. Suddenly divine energy, divine presence was there every moment of my planning. I would think of something and it come in front of me. I want to talk to somebody and suddenly I meet them or somebody calls. So, those are really not possible. So things were just flowing. So I said, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's all I kept saying. So during that summit, then we made a issue with, because I knew the Dalai Lamas were in New York. They were old friends of mine. I knew that. I said, listen, I called them and I told them what the issue was. I said, I want you to do one thing. Let's test and see if we can exert enough influence and maybe there may be a chance that the Dalai Lama can come to the UN. Then what do you want to do? I said, I want you to start organizing a campaign against me. I said, what? I said, yeah. The Baba is Indian Secretary General. How can you have the summit? The Dalai Lama is not invited. That's the start. So I'm confessing today. I wanted to test what limit it goes. Because I knew how much the US was backing the Dalai Lama and supporting it. So I knew protocol. Let's see if China and America can come to some understanding. The ambassador of the US at the UN that time was Dick Woodrow. If any of you remember, was one of the biggest bullies. His form of conflict resolution was bullying. He told me that to my face. So we started that campaign. It became very active, very prominent. And one day then, I got a call from Senator Jesse Helms, who was the head of the Foreign Relations Commission. You know, I don't know why people just felt they could just ring up and blast me and abuse me and curse me whenever they felt that. And he picked up the phone. I don't know who, I heard about his name. Senator Jesse Helms. Who the hell do you think you are? Who do you use the F word? All kinds of stuff. And I said, what did I do here? You're the Secretary General of India. Yes, sir. How can you do the summit and not have the dialogue? Okay, that's the issue. But see, the divine presence, my presence of mind was, Excellency, this is such a fantastic idea. I have known His Holiness since the young days. Can you please help me? China and America, the greatest superpowers. Please talk to your counterparts in China. Let you have the dialogue. Give me his number, he said anytime, you reach me. He made a point, they wanted to get into attacks. Well, the campaign continued. I remember that then, closer to the summit, Dick Holbrook calls me. I mean, see me, very sternly. I go up and he blasts again. And I wanted to react, but one of Coffee's dear friends, David Finn, who's the head of Rural Finn, we had to leave the host our offices there. He was with me because he wanted to protect Coffee and see what's going on, and he knew he was a big guy because he knew people. And he blasted me. But at the end of it, make a long story short, he gave me his number, we have an understanding. I said, Excellency, please talk to the Chinese. We tried. But what happened in the end in terms of, keep putting it, we had the 4 highest representatives of the 4 schools of Tibetan Buddhism who brought His Holiness's message with them. And I'm telling you some challenges because these are things which will tell you how the history involved religious engagement. Before the Dalai Lama's message was to be read in the General Assembly Hall of the UN for the Millennium Summit, the Chinese Minister for Religious Affairs, who was heading the Chinese religion, by the way, they brought over 30 people from China representing all the religions, Catholic, Protestant, everybody. And he had become my good friend, so that he summoned and had gone and visited, and they have been supporting me. Officially, what they said. He calls me and says, we have to protest. I said, let's see what happened. So he came to my suite and puts this paper in front of me. And I picked up the paper, the message of the Dalai Lama, which is going to be read. He had it before. I don't know how. That's the system for political people to pick up. I read it. Now I understood what he had come for, that he had to protest. And I intentionally took extra. Sometimes in these situations, silence is a great accomplishment. So I took my time, read it once, twice, thrice. It's an expensive. Look at this message. It's for harmony. So religious leaders coming to it. There's nothing political in this. What's wrong with this? We agree to disagree. But he didn't finish there. He went straight after Kofi Annan. Now Kofi and me, we were working closely in his office in the field. And as they went out to Kofi Annan, he looks at the message. Expensive, did it? There's nothing wrong with it. See, look at Kofi's, I would use a good stop. His courage. In the right moment, in a very soft way, he did it. So, the message was read in the General Assembly. They staged a walk out, but then signed the same piece. That's a big accomplishment. You will recognize how we had to work so hard behind the scenes and the nightmare. I didn't sleep for 3 continuous nights during that time. Too much to be done. And too much energy, You just get that extra energy, you just go on. So that was the religious leaders engagement at the UN. Look where we are today. And it saddens me. I see that. Because it is constantly being shunned, pushed away. Constantly. And it's time, I think, religious leaders come up with some new strategies. And my strategy is revisit what we have asked us to do at that time. The commitment to global peace. Yes, because 90% of the world's conflict in the name of religion. But then also to see how you can support the UN in working on the social challenges, the environment, climate change, the communication, health issues, natural disasters, which are increasing so much in frequency. Those are the areas we have to find ways to do that. There are many religious institutions already engaged in that. We need to make it more systematic. My grouse always is the UN is the convening power that brings nation states together. They agree on bare minimums that we need in our world to sustain and grow forward. And even that, those goals we cannot keep up. So the future looks bleak unless you have a mechanism to implement those decisions, those treaties which have been negotiated. That's where religion plays a central role, can play a central role. If we can be real allies of the UN in fulfilling those treaties, documents, Millennium Development Goals, the Sustainable Development Goals, look at all that. They are aspirational. I've spoken to Jeffrey Sachs many times and the other people also. I said, come on, a common person, even you, I told Jeffrey Sachs last time. I said, can you repeat to me the Sustainable Development Goals, not just the 70, the 648 some subset. Can you repeat them to me? Can you tell me what they are? Of course not. I said, you as the author cannot remember what you want the people to do. Make it simple that people can understand. So religious leaders can take that up, see what are the needs of the communities in every society, and come up to say, this is what we need to do as a plan of action. Give people simple things to do. Tell them, if you do this, this will be the result. Those are the kind of ways we have to come up with ideas and propose to the UN to be those partners to implement it. Then the UN has use for it. The political people will have use for us. And ultimately, remember, it's the religious leaders who play an enormous part in electing those people into their offices. Because over 90% follows one religion or the other. That's the reality, right? That's the power of religion. One of the greatest powers, most unharnessed, most underutilized. So my message today is, because harmony seems a distant word today. Respect is, that's global. get divided. There's race, racism, bias, prejudice, hatred. And when I look at anti-Semitism through the ceiling, Islamophobia, homophobia, all kinds of phobias. This is the time, unique time for religious leaders to emerge, rise, like the kings. They are the beacons. They need to be those reverends who have the courage to ask for mercy of a president, even though it may not be comfortable. Because that is their mandate. That is what they have taken the laws for. We need that courage, that conviction. This committee here, you all, can be the conduits to make that happen. Can we do that? Are we willing to do that? I don't hear a strong conviction.
Yes.
Let's do something, people. Let our fathers, our family be proud that these are the people who are striving, making that possible. You all can. You all can. And as you do this, please keep in your mind and your prayers all those people around the world who are suffering. The simple things can heal them. Let's try to be ourselves. Thank you. Sorry, I took too long. I got carried away.
Let us please thank God one more time for our striving to be instruments of peace. I was taking many notes, but that unharnessed power of religious leaders, faith leaders. You asked the question at the very beginning, what is it that binds us? You mentioned dark clouds hanging over us, over the UN. Come to consensus, not condemn. You mentioned that this moment of rising like the phoenix from those ashes that have happened. Dialogue being reached dialogue has reached its end. It's time for action. When you bring people together, trust forms. We are supposed to challenge breaking the norms and find ways to work with the diplomatic community. Religious diplomacy is once. These are some of the things that you mentioned to us today. And these are, again, aspirations. I cannot recite the 638 either. We have committed the 17 to our memories, but there's so much more. Thank you for sharing your own reflections, your own memories, and that which can ignite, once again, our faith into action. God bless you. Before we hear from heaven again in song, my dear sister, one who again is like our brother Carl, a quiet giant in her own right, but one whose joy just emanates from her wherever she goes. Every time I sit to drink a cup of tea, I remember her with deep thanks. And dear friend, we will hear from Reverend Doyan Park, and then another one who has brought the power of the alchemy of power is the name of her book, which I am only halfway through. But she herself, as you mentioned, your teacher, who was 4'11", you mentioned? I forget who it was that was.
Swami Boa.
Swami Boa. Well, my dear sister, Reverend Dr. Domi Carly, is short like me, but she brings so much power whenever she speaks. So, in our closing, would you, before again we hear from heaven and also then hear from our dear brother who will share with us about peace and peace, I want for us to allow God to speak through us through Reverend Joanne Park, then Reverend Dr. John. Why should I feel discouraged? Why should the shadows come? Why should I, my heart, be lonely and long for heaven and home? When Jesus is my portion, my constant friend is He. All my time is on the sparrow, and I know He watches me. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know He watches me. I sing because I'm happy. I sing because I'm free. For His eye is on the sparrow, and I know He's watching me. Let not your heart be troubled. His tender words I hear, and resting on His promise, I lose my joy and fear. On the path He leads me, just one step I may see. For His eye is on
everyone. As always, it's hard to follow with this beautiful heavenly voice here. Happy World Interfaith Harmony Week, everyone. With the beginning of this year, I actually had some pain on my left leg. I think it's related to some like cold weather or aging, I don't know. That was the first day. I was like, so wow, what is it? So unfamiliar kind of feeling the pain that I experienced. But then from the second day, actually, I started noticing and realizing, oh, pain-free my right leg. And it's a very simple thing, but that gave me a whole shift of my own perspective. You know, I took for granted for many years, for a couple decades, that this pain-free body, and now with this small thing that I noticed that, wow, it's been here forever, right? And then this shift also helped me to see, yes, we all say this is challenging time. There's so much hate, fear, anxiety, frustration here. But now I can see what's the flip side. And I really appreciate today's keynote speaker, Dr. Bawa Jain, that kind of going through all your experience sharing that I see, yeah, it's not just this current scene right now we're seeing. There has been so many people before us, and it will coming later as well, who's sharing this value together, working together, and really spreading the words of hope, peace, and harmony. So that really filled my heart. So thank you for that and for your all presence. I'm very honored to offer a prayer from the Buddhist tradition. You may join your palms together. Dharmakaya Buddha, infinite light of wisdom and compassion. In the presence of all faiths, we bow with reverence, honoring the sacred truth that unites us as one global family. May our hearts be filled with faith, faith in the goodness of humanity, faith in the boundless potential of love and understanding. May our spirits be uplifted with hope, hope that peace is possible, hope that kindness will guide our way, hope that our shared future will be woven with understanding and unity. May we embody true harmony, seeing beyond boundaries and differences, listening with openness, walking together with hands and hearts united. May the wisdom of all traditions guide us. May the compassion of all beings embrace us. And may we work as one for a world of peace, now and for generations to come. With deep gratitude, we offer this prayer. And now I'd like to offer the Buddhist chant, the four great vows, that summarize all of our vows here. English translation and followed by Korean chanting. Sentient beings are numberless, we vow to save them. Religions are endless, we vow to illuminate them. Teachings are infinite, we vow to learn them. Supreme enlightenment is inconceivable, we vow to attain it. 중생무변 사원도 번뇌무진 선단 법문무량 서원을
Hello, our UN family. It's just such an honor to be with you celebrating this day. So many new family members here, and so many family members that have celebrated so often before. I just want to bring your attention to the peace lights, because that's the unity in our diversity that's right in front of our faces. I love having them here. It reminds me that our work in the spiritual community is in between the 17 blocks of color. It's in that white space. It's in that stuff that we can't always name, but that we know when we come together in spirit. And I want to talk really about that unity that occurs in that space. Since the birth of our universe, we've been interdependently co-arising with every other being on the planet. We've also been co-arising with the planet herself. Our oneness is not some utopian fantasy. It's not some mythical proverb. And it's not something to be hoped for against all odds, which is usually how we contextualize unity. But now scientists are confirming what our spiritual teachers have always told us, that our unity is not an aspiration, it is our existential reality. We are one. That's just what's so. It's being conscious of that oneness and acting in accordance with it. That's where we have work to do. Our unity is much less something to strive for than it is a truth to be woken up to. And that waking up is a matter of consciousness, because the realm of consciousness is where we experience our harmony with the world. And that's where our spiritual teachings take us and open up that realm of being, that realm of work, that domain of work called consciousness. Our individual consciousness is our access to unitive consciousness. And that unit of consciousness is what underlies ideas like Ubuntu. I am because you are. It's where we know that we're not just family with all the people in the world, we're family with the entire web of planetary life that some call Gaia. Unit of consciousness is that deep knowing, a beingness that we're all united in our aliveness. The place of consciousness is the place of our innate yearning to live in a well and a happy world, to be one global family. It's the realm of our vision for a good world where every being goes to bed, goes to sleep safe, fed, and warm. Consciousness is a field of all possibility that flows in and of, around, and through each of us, and throughout all of Gaia. It's the place where we connect with that divine spark that's unique in each of us and common to all of us. Whatever we do in the world first occurs in the domain of consciousness. And so I want to move away from talking about consciousness to being in unity of consciousness. So I'd like to offer a short meditation and then pray. So get comfortable, take a breath. Close your eyes if you're comfortable doing that. Settle in, breathing in, and breathing out. Breathing in, and breathing out. Knowing that the air coming into your lungs has been shared by trees and flowers, by bees and bears, and by wolves and whales. Inhaling, aware of your connection to the land and the sea. Exhaling, aware of your connection to the sky and stars. Breathing into the eternal flow of life that pulses through you. Breathing out into the sacred web that weaves in, around, and through all of life. Breathing in and breathing out. Knowing that Buddha, Jesus, Mary Magdalene, Kuan Yin, and all the wise ones still breathe through you because particles that move through their breath now move through yours. Ever expanding, ever evolving. Breathing into your unique place in the whole of creation, and breathing out, knowing your wholeness with our one earth family. Breathing in as one, breathing out as one. Breathing in as one, breathing out as one. And ask you to bring your awareness back into your room, into this room with your next breath. And please pray with me. We give thanks for the deep kinship we share with all life, knowing we are each an integral part of the eternally unfolding mix of the seen and the unseen. We give thanks for coming together in interfaith celebration because it gives us access to our interbeing. Today we celebrate that we are all indigenous to this place of our interconnectedness with each other. We are all indigenous to Gaia. We are all one with the spirit that animates all life. We pray for the healing we need to open our hearts, to open our minds, and to open our souls to the reality of our unity. We pray for ever deepening connection with our wholeness, with the infinite expansiveness of our universe, and ever deepening connection with the oneness of our shared humanity. We give thanks for the metaphysical powers of purpose and prayer, knowing that our sacred power is fueled today by celebrating our harmony, by celebrating in collective consciousness with each other in gatherings, just like this today. We give thanks that unit of consciousness is awakening around the planet in the form of an emergent evolutionary impulse toward becoming a species that is in harmony with itself and with all other beings and with the divine. May we go forward knowing that our unity is the truth, and it is the way, and it is what is so. May we leave today's celebration as co-creators of a new world order, a new order that aligns with our existential unity. We release our prayers for a peaceful, just, compassionate, and verdant world, with thanks for the blessings that have come before, with thanks for the blessings that are happening right here, right now, and with thanks for all the blessings yet to come. And so it is. Amen. Blessed be.
I'm going to ask our brother Peter if he will come. Because they do have such a gift to be able to share with us, what we need to share it. I want to, after you share, I will read just a prayer. This is also Black History Month. And one who is a mystic and mentor for so many of us who have struggled coming through traditional circles of denomination. I want to leave us before we hear again from heaven. Close with some from Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman. He was inspired by St. Francis of Assisi and wrote a prayer that he wrote for being an instrument of our peace. So the light that leads and guides, the light that brings and illuminates not only our way, but our peace and ignites our path. Love for you, dear Peter, that you share with us the gift that you have brought to this space so many times and to so many others.
Thank you, Reverend. Happy Interfaith Harmony Week, everybody, and happy Black History Month. I was going to mention that. It's great to hear the themes that I hear always when I come here. The themes of this being home, so to all of us, and this being family. It certainly feels that way every time I'm here. And I love bringing the symbol of peace to wherever I bring peace lights. And I'll talk quickly about what the symbolism is there. But as I look in this direction, I see the colors. And what Reverend Dion reminded me of was a particular conversation that I had with the UNESCO group in Tanzania. And we were talking about bringing peace lights into all our days of discussion in Tanzania. Project Peace Lights is now in 30 countries. And this discussion in Tanzania kind of took me by surprise because they said, you know you're going to have to change your logo when you come here. And the Project Peace Lights logo, if you see on, I invite you all to take one of these postcards on your way out. Project Peace Lights logo, it's a shape of Africa with the Peace Lights colors in the middle. And I said, you know, we're not going to change our logo. You know, this is kind of one of the things that brings together everybody is the symbolism of the lights. He said, yes, but here in Tanzania, I'm worried that your symbol will immediately be looked at and taken as a version of the rainbow, and the Muslim community here will immediately not listen to anything else you have to say. I said, you know, that's kind of a surprising reaction. And I said, you know, I think this is better handled through education because the symbolism of the lights have been out there since 2015. And indeed, this will be on April 8th this year will be the 10-year anniversary of the introduction of Peace Lights. The colors represent the different cultures in the world. And the motion represents how those cultures interact and work together to achieve harmony and peace and good energy. And I was so taken aback by this that I spoke to Guruji, and I spoke to Frank Kaufman. And Frank Kaufman very inspired me early on when Guruji started to hold his Wednesday afternoon, or Wednesday morning, I think it was, Zoom sessions during COVID. Frank told a story about how he brought the Grand Muftis together, and they had to decide whether or not Saddam Hussein's fatwa was going to be acknowledged by the rest of the Grand Muftis. And that story, you know, so that impressed me. So I called up Frank and said, Frank, what am I going to do here? And I said, I've already requested that I can meet with, if I can meet with the Grand Mufti when I come to Tanzania. So I want to discuss this with him and tell him the symbolism and talk about why this should be an issue. And he gave me a lot of really good words about how color is a gift from God. Light is a gift from God. And therefore, this is a very valid symbol. And we look at all the stained glass and we look at all the colors that we see every day. It reminds us that we're all one and we all are bathing in the light that comes from the God. So I also wanted to mention that the reaction of the Office of the Prime Minister in Tanzania was to say, we would like you to meet with the Grand Mufti, but we'd like to know if you'd be willing to meet with the Religious Council of Tanzania, which not only has the Grand Mufti, but has the head of the Catholic and the Jewish faith and all of our faiths. And of course, I very much look forward to that interfaith experience here. So one other thing about Peace Lights, you'll see the words come up. It says Peace Lights in 55 different languages. There's a version of Peace Lights that has the 30 human rights in both English and French. First time that ever played was in the Delegates Lounge over here at the United Nations. One of the things that I think is the most powerful thing about Peace Lights that I'll leave you with is that wherever Peace Lights plays around the world, people are encouraged to project their own thoughts and intents for peace into the lights. So it not only brings the energy of the lights, but it brings all that combined energy of all of the people that have seen the lights and contributed their energies for peace and for interfaith harmony and everything else into those lights. So let me leave that with you with an invitation before you leave today to send some energy back there and look for it next time. Thank you very much.
We bless God for the ancestors that are of the great cloud of witnesses always with us. And this ancestor, mystic, and prophet of God, Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman, prayer inspired by St. Francis of Assisi. Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Teach me how to order my days, that with sure touch I may say the right word at the right time and in the right way. lest I betray the spirit of peace. Let me not be deceived by my own insecurity and weakness, which would make me hurt another as I try desperately to help myself. Keep watch with me, oh my God, over the days of my life, that with abiding enthusiasm I may be in such possession of myself that each day I may offer to thee the full, unhampered use of me in all my parts as an instrument of thy peace. As we leave today, in faith, with hope and harmony, one global family for a united future, may it be yours.
You can join me in singing Let There Be Peace on Earth.
I want to thank everyone, every participant who came, for all of you. Family sometimes triggers not so good memories for people. But here, we are one family that will be doing no more talking, but action. So we are thankful that you have begun that faithful action right here today. So, as we leave this place but never God's presence, let us go as instruments of God's peace. Let it begin with us. Thank you, Baba. We bless you, the Dr. Jen. We thank you for your words, inspiration, and memories that were not ours. For all who are here today, let us go out in peace. Oh, yes. And we would not be a family if we did not take a picture. So come, let us all take this picture together.
Your name?
Oh, so here's better. So we
Okay, pleasure to meet you, Dr. Aziz. The museum. Oh.
New York.
Yes.
Tika, you come in.
Can you see everyone?
Yes.
Thank you so much for this.
One more person, Tika. You were in?
TK, you have to come in.
Where's the space I should?
You were in? You were good, yeah. Okay, you can't see the lens, then I can't see you, but I see almost everyone. Way back here. Maybe stand on the bench. Stand on the bench? Oh, yeah.
Lord have mercy.
Peace for peace. Peace? Peace for peace. Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Did you need to take permission from you before getting your permission?
Oh, I got it, okay. Yeah, I will send it.
Thank you everyone for watching. See you soon.